It is like 3 in the morning now on Thursday, December 10th, and I just spent the last 3 or so hours trying to fix a computer error. That's like pretty minor, I guess, in the long run, but still is bothersome enough for me to try and spend over 3 hours trying to fix it, and it still hasn't been fixed, but I figured I might as well record this video because I'm still up and whatever. So, last two comics this week to review, both from Image. First one is Monstress, issue number 2. I heard some really good things about the first issue, so I picked it up a few weeks ago, maybe a week after it came out, and I really enjoyed it. And now we're on issue 2, and still very much enjoying this book. The first thing I think that anyone will notice right out of the gate, first page of this book, is that it is just beautiful. It is one of the most detailed, like ornate, just beautifully drawn books coming out right now. Every page is like a Renaissance fresco or something. It's just, there's so much detail. Like every jar on the shelf is drawn and slightly different, and the way the characters' wardrobes and clothes are just so flowy, and like just have all of this small little detail put into it. It's all just, it's amazing how much work must go into this book. And it really does seem like none of it's for waste. It all looks amazing, which is just, it's fun. It's fun to see art this good in a comic book. As for the narrative, the story, the writing, it's big. It's a heavy comic. There is the author, Marjorie Liu, I think has a lot more experience with like prose than with comic book writing, and it shows because the world and the characters, basically the whole book is as finely detailed as the art is. Even seem, I mean, we're in issue 2, so it's hard to tell exactly which characters will become important, but even like these kind of seemingly sounding, kind of like seemingly just little bit, nobody characters have enough like backstory put into them in a couple pages where we know like a lot about their family history and how they feel about certain people on this world, and like just their interactions and what they do. Like they have fully fleshed out lives, and they are completely unimportant characters. And that's the sort of thing you get through this entire book. Everything has details and backstories, and this whole world is just so fully realized. Just like 100 pages or something that this book has been in so far, and it really, you can tell how much effort is being put into this, and it just, none of it is wasted. None of it feels overwrought or over the top, or like just like Tolkien-esque world building for the sake of world building. All of it also seamlessly kind of blends into the story. You never feel like you're wasting time just looking around, at the trees and missing the forest for it. As for the actual story of this book, because I didn't review issue 1 on video, we begin in a world that is just kind of, I guess, just kind of past a world war between these two factions, the humans and the Arcanon. Is that what it is? No, and the how do I pronounce this now? I wrote it in my notes, and I can't pronounce it, and I don't want to find Arcane X. Arcane X, I guess, is how it's pronounced. Or like these magic beings. And in the first issue, we followed. Let me find a good portrait of her. We followed one character, Micah. What's a good image? Yeah, this page is pretty much all her. We followed her. She is in Arcane X, after she was kidnapped by the kind of human royalty, the human government, and thrown into a prison for Arcane X and was tortured. We followed her escape. She has this immense power within her. She kills the people in charge. She escapes with a few of the other prisoners. And that's basically where we end the book, is with her escaping after this massive slaughter. We pick up after the slaughter, as you can see again on the first page, wall still covered in blood, with introducing a bunch of new characters, the Inquisitrixes, who are, I'm guessing, Inquisitors plus Dominatrix, it looks like. And these characters, like a lot of the characters we've been introduced to as kind of main characters, are just hella efficient at killing people. The head Inquisitrix does some magic-y shit, or like science-y magic shit, because they're not actually magic. That revives someone that was killed in the last issue. We don't see what happens there before chasing Mecha and the other escaped Arcane X. Meanwhile, Mecha, who's getting help from this woman who is an Edenite, which is kind of like a Quaker in this universe. They just want peace between everybody. Is on the run from the human government. She tries to escape into like the Truce Lands, where there's no fighting. But she's also stolen from the human like royalty or whatever. This mask, which unlocks a lot of power, and she's still trying to solve exactly what that means for her. She's kind of lost. She's a bit of an amnesiac, possibly due to trauma because of the war, and she's just kind of running away. And she meets a few other people. She still has one of the other slaves that was with her, who's like this young little fox girl who's afraid of her after seeing what happened in the previous issue. So there's a lot going on. And we still don't have a lot of answers. We have a few answers, and it's a drip feed. But every every issue so far has raised a lot more questions by the end than it has solved. But this is, again, as I've been saying, a huge world full of possibility, full of detail and backstory and all that. That so far it's not hitting you over the head with it all. When you're reading it, you don't even know. It's seamless exposition. Which is just amazing, especially in a comic book where things tend to be kind of ham-fisted. And yeah, it's just a wonderful book. I'm getting a lot of vibes of kind of like Miyazaki films. So my big thing, the big one I'm getting is like kind of Princess Mononoke, because you have like old gods in the forest, and you have like this thing. And, of course, like the verge of magic and technology, which is a big thing in Miyazaki Studio Ghibli films. So that's like the main sort of thing I'm getting from this book. The main sort of feeling is that it's going to be a kind of steampunk Miyazaki sort of book, with some magic stuff in it. So if that sounds interesting to you, if you want to really get invested in a world full of details and magic and all of that, if anything in this book sounds interesting to you, this is a great example of it, 2 issues in, so not a lot of catching up to do. And just from these first 2 issues, I have a feeling this is going to be, in like 10 years or so, this is going to be a book that people, like Sandman, like Watchmen, like Why the Last Man or something, that people will recommend as the top of the crop of comic books. So get on it now. And then in 10 years, you can say, oh yeah, I read that when it first came out, and maybe the issues will be worth something. Who knows? And the last comic I read today is the finale to We Stand on Guard. We Stand on Guard, issue number 6. And it is, not to spoil too much, a very explosive finale. After the rest of the 2-4... after the rest basically broadcast that they are about to do their final stand against the United States government, we cut to the rest of the book, which is Amber at a standoff with the American, the final standoff. Amber's prepared to just blow everything up, and the American's like, no, don't do that. because you're going to blow up one of the largest supplies of water left in North America, and you'd be killing a lot more people than you'd save. And that is, I really don't want to get too much further in this book, because that is the rest of it, is this long, very intense standoff between these two people of iron will, one wanting revenge, one just, we're still not exactly sure which side she's on, or why exactly she's fighting, but we know why Amber's fighting, and just the standoff between her and anyone getting in her way at this point is incredibly intense. As for the actual ending that it supplies, I can't help but feel a little disappointed, because they set up this big story, this world war essentially between America and Canada, and there's a lot of details given in this book, but still not enough answers. I feel it ends a lot like, I guess, I'm trying not to be too spoilery, but like something like Planet of the Apes or Fight Club, in that it's this explosive finale, and you find out a lot. And then you kind of want to know, well, what's going to happen now that this huge thing has happened, Now that we get a resolution of this character's arc, what happens to the rest of the world? And so that's kind of where this book ends. And again, it's explosive, it's dramatic, and it works just as an ending to Amber's storyline. But I also want to see more of this world. I want to see what happens next after all these actions are done, and all the waves kind of crash. I mean, that's one way to. I don't know. Again, like it's a good book. It's been a good miniseries. I'm like, at one part, I'm glad it ended now, because just the way it kept on building up throughout these 6 issues, I don't see this even extending another 1 or 2 issues, and without stretching itself too thin. But at the same time, I want to keep on exploring this world. I can't say it's a bad ending, as much as I feel a little unfulfilled, because I'm unfulfilled because of the world the previous issues built, and not because of the way this one ends what we already have. So that is We Stand on Guard, issue number 6, the finale. And that is finally it for this week's comic book reviews. I want to thank you for watching this video. If you're interested in the Marvel or DC books that I read this week, those are in previous parts of this week's reviews. But first, before you move on, or if you decide not to move on, if you only care about these 2 kind of random books, I want to thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like it. Subscribe if you want more of these every week. Any comments, questions, book recommendations, thoughts, anything whatsoever, please leave them in the comments, and I will try and get to them. And that is it for this week's comic book reviews. Again, thank you for watching, and I hope that you'll join me for some more comic book reviews.